Welcome. This talk is called Organize Your Backpack, Room, and School Stuff for middle, high school, and college students. So it seems like there's a lot of middle school students in the audience, which is great because the earlier you can kind of master how to organize all your stuff, the easier it will get in high school and college. So my name is Dr. P. I'm the founder and president of Crimson Coaching, which is an academic tutoring, test prep, and college consulting service based here on Long Island, but I do serve students worldwide through the internet, of course. And a lot of people sometimes ask me, well, why Crimson Coaching? If you can see the little diploma on the wall behind me, the mat is crimson. Crimson is the color of Harvard. That's where the diploma is from. So, and I also consider myself a coach because I both encourage and teach students. So I developed this talk because I started out my career before I started Crimson Coaching. I was a high school teacher for more than 10 years. And what I frequently saw among my high school students was that, you know, if a student was getting quote unquote bad grades, it wasn't because they were dumb. It wasn't because they didn't have the capacity to understand the material. It was more often than not a problem of organization. And we generally, you know, today a fancy term for this is executive functioning skills. If you hear that, that kind of is often synonymous with what I'm going to talk about today. But it seemed to me a real shame that kids who were smart and could understand the material were getting C's in my class sometimes because they forgot to hand in homework or they didn't even know where their homework was. And so when I started my own tutoring company, I thought this is one thing that I really want to help students figure out. And of course, I do work one-on-one with students on this skill, but not everybody can work one-on-one with me. So I developed this talk to kind of share my tips with students more directly. So tonight's agenda, you guys are all really great. You're already all muted, which is awesome. If you could keep yourself muted for the duration of the talk, which should last anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. And then at the end of the talk, you can either unmute yourself and ask me questions directly, or if you feel a little shyer, you can put them into the chat and I will answer the questions in the chat. If you're a parent watching this and you're like me and you're middle-aged and you say, oh, if I don't ask it right away, I'm going to forget it, throw it into the chat. I'm not going to toggle back and forth between the chat and the talk during the talk, but I do always monitor the questions later on. And so your question will be answered at the very end of my prepared remarks. If you could keep yourself muted during the duration, that would be great. It helps me to concentrate a little bit better. And before we go any further, I do want to thank all of you, first of all, for showing up after a long day of school on a Monday, no less, and to Ms. Long for inviting me to speak and for organizing this talk, and to Syosset Public Library for sponsoring tonight's talk. So, for those of us who aren't maybe inherently well organized, I think it pays to ask, what will being organized do for you? Okay, because if you're just doing it for your parents or you're just doing it because your teachers tell you to get more organized, you may not be that motivated to get organized because getting organized can seem like a lot of work. So I think it pays to ask yourself, well, what would my life be like if I got more organized? Do I want to get better grades? That's one good reason. Do I want to feel less stressed? So if you have a notebook next to you, and I hope you do, because I hope you can jot down some notes that you might want to take throughout the talk, I'd really like to encourage you to think about what being organized will do for you. And I'm going to be quiet for 15 seconds while you write that down. So the more specific you can get, the better this exercise will be for you. So for example, being organized will help me get better grades because I hand in my homework because now I know where it is, right? Once you've written this down, I really encourage you to post this somewhere that you will see it every single day. You know, sometimes I have students when they write down their goals, to write them on a little index card and then take a picture of it and use it as the wallpaper for their phone. That's something where you'll see it all the time, multiple times a day. Other times, if you don't have a phone yet, you could put it next to your bed so you see it at night, or even in your mirror of your bathroom, so you see it as you're brushing your teeth twice a day. It's really important that, you know, this is basically a goal. And if you're really into setting goals, I encourage you to go to my website. The URL is in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. It's www.crimsoncoaching.com. And you can download an 18-page workbook that I have that'll guide you through setting short, medium, and long-term goals. And in that ebook, I have basically that it's really important not only just to write down your goals. Studies show that people who write down their goals are about 50% more likely to achieve them than people who don't, but also to see them, because most of us are visual learners. And if we see something over and over again, it'll become part of our subconscious. Oops, sorry. So, organization really begins, I believe, with what you buy. And so I know it might be too late for this, but if you are hopefully watching after the start of, before the start of a new school year, I really think that students should have a single subject notebook in a different color for every single subject, as well as a matching folder in that matching color. I am not a fan at all of accordion files for students who are poorly organized right now, okay? Because what winds up happening is that, you know, you may label social studies, math, English, Spanish, whatever, and then in 3 days, by the end of 3 days, every subject is in every of a file of the accordion. It's an absolute mess. Okay, so accordion files are great for kids who are already organized. They're the ones who are going to use that. But if you're not already organized and you're attending this talk, probably because you're not already organized, have a separate folder for each subject. The reason I recommend one subject spiral is because the pages can't come out. You know, I once had a student who had a huge binder of loose leaf paper, and she had every single subject in that loose leaf. And I said to her, oh yeah, what happens if that binder gets lost, or if it opens and all of those hundreds of pages go scattering to the wind? And she just kind of looked at me sheepishly, like, I don't know what would happen. Whereas for one subject spiral, if you lose one notebook, it's not the end of the world, right? Both in terms of time for that one subject, you know, maybe you've only missed a month worth of notes or 2 months worth of notes. But also because not every single subject is in that one notebook. And so you're only missing one subject as opposed to, you know, maybe all 6 or 7. Because we sometimes need to rip out and hand our teacher in a piece of paper, although that's becoming increasingly less common, I realize. I do recommend getting a mini stapler and staples for your backpack, and a monthly desk blotter calendar and a daily planner. Now, the daily planner is somewhat self-explanatory. You're going to write down your daily homework in that planner, right? Oh, no, of course, especially after COVID, most kids will say, but wait a second, it's on Google Classroom. Even if it's on Google Classroom, use the daily planner as the place where you jot down your assignments for the evening. It's really important that you take ownership of writing them down. Even if it's just to say social studies, see Google Classroom. English, none, right? Because it's really important you see at a glance all in one spot what you have for homework. And then the monthly desk blotter calendar. This is probably more appropriate. I don't know if we have any high schoolers out there, but this is probably more appropriate for high schoolers when you are assigned a project, say on the 1st of the month, and it may not be due until the 28th of the month. When you have to plan out a long-term assignment, that's what I like the desk blotter calendar for. So let me just move this over here. So getting organized continues at home, okay? So I do believe that every student should have a dedicated workspace. Now, if you have your own bedroom and you don't share with a sibling, the bedroom is ideal. If you don't, or for some reason your parent doesn't want you to work in their bedroom, perhaps because they're afraid that you're going to play Minecraft for 5 hours and never get done with your homework, and if you have to work in the kitchen, then I do recommend getting a set of noise canceling headphones if possible. Okay. But a note about the bedroom, I would say, I recently started working privately with a 9th grader who had a single desk, and I'm putting desk in quotes because really this flat space was really a vanity or a makeup table. Okay. It was a small table and she had a big mirror behind her in front of her rather, on the wall, but it doubled as her desk for homework. And this student struggles with attention or focus. She's not diagnosed as ADHD, but she does struggle to keep her focus. And she's also very invested in social media and Snapchatting. And so I thought she's most likely, and she happens to be a very pretty young girl, I think she's distracted by her own image, okay, with this big mirror in front of her desk. So the first thing I recommended during our first organizing session was you need another desk that doesn't have a mirror in front of it. And so now she uses her swivel chair to just swivel 90 degrees. And now she's got a real desk that is just for work and that she puts her laptop in front of. Okay. So I would say that if you struggle with focus, you should also, your ideal workspace should also be blank in front of you. You shouldn't have a lot of visual clutter behind your computer or in front of your visual fields, because that is only going to distract from your focus. Now, a lot of students love to work on their bed if they're doing their homework in the bedroom. I myself was a huge bed reader, and I still read in bed before I go to bed, before I go to sleep every night. Parents think that this is the worst thing possible. I come down somewhere in the middle. I think, first of all, if you need to do anything that involves writing, you need to be at a desk. Okay, so math problems, any type of art, any type of typing. Ideally, I know that you can sit up in your bed and type, but I think you should be sitting at a desk. Okay. However, if you're reading a history textbook, a novel for English, and you feel more comfortable on your bed, go to your bed. The only time I want you to come back to your desk is if you're falling asleep. Okay, because if you're falling asleep, then you're not paying attention to the schoolwork. All right, and that's the only time I don't think a bed should be used. For your desk, you really want to make sure that you have proper lighting. You know, for instance, I have here not just my little social media little circle light, but also a light, and I'm sitting in front of a window because I know I need light in order to stay awake. You also might want to think about how comfortable is your chair? Do you want to stand? I happen to be sitting at a repurposed bar table. So sometimes if I've been sitting a lot all day, I stand and I type at my computer. All of these things you want to think about. The other thing that you want to get when you're in Staples or Office Max or Amazon, whatever, is thinking about your long-term storage. And especially when you get into high school, you will be having Regents exams at the end of a year. But when you have just a one subject notebook, you're going to go through that notebook within a few months, most likely. Okay. So you want to have some kind of long-term crate where you can store stuff. And I recommend getting a manila envelope where you will also be putting handouts, the notebook, anything that your teacher gives you, and then a Sharpie where you will be labeling, say, ELA September through November 2021 on the manila envelope. And once that gets filled, you know it's time to go to another envelope. So the next space, of course, is the all-important backpack, okay? I really believe most backpacks have a big central compartment and then a couple of other smaller ones. The big one should be only for your folders, notebooks, which hopefully are matching in color, any books that you have, as well as what I call a personal care item pouch. In this personal care pouch, you might want to have tissues, something like a hard candy to suck on if you've got, you know, all the time. You should keep it in there in case you get a sore throat, maybe eye drops if you wear contact lenses, stuff that you need to take care of yourself. Okay. In the outer pocket, you want to keep your pens, pencil, and if you have one, a phone, things that you're going to be using all the time. You don't want to be rummaging through this big central compartment looking for a pen or pencil in math when your teacher's, you know, 2 problems in. And finally, use that Sharpie from the last slide and put your name, your phone number on your backpack, as well as every loose item. So for example, every folder, every notebook, your personal care pouch. And you know, you might even want to try to get a little label maker. I have a label maker. Confession, I'm super crazy organized by nature. And you might even want to put it on your phone just in case your phone gets lost. So let's continue staying organized at home. So this same girl that I was working with, the one with the desk and the makeup mirror, told me that she didn't really need to think about getting organized at night, even though 2 minutes earlier she told me that she had forgotten her cleats for soccer and that she had to call her mom in the middle of English class to bring her cleats, and her teacher whacked her on the top of the head with a book because clearly she's not supposed to be texting her mom in the middle of English class. So the moral of this story is get your backpack as well as any other bags, like a duffel bag filled with your sports gear, ready the night before school. Okay, so you want to make sure, go through a little checklist. Do I have my homework in it? Is my personal care items in it? Are all my folders and notebooks there? And as well as, do I have my sports items ready? And if you take a water bottle with you, maybe, is my water bottle in there? Do I have a snack? Whatever. Okay. Every Friday, I think that the entire backpack should be emptied on the kitchen or dining room table. Okay, it's like, going to be amazing what you're going to find in there. You're going to find in there Doritos wrappers from, you know, Monday afternoon, crumpled up papers from Tuesday, blah, 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 blah. And if you forget, this is something that you can pencil in on your monthly calendar. Friday, home from school, empty backpack. Okay. You also want to once you empty everything out and take care of the recycling and throwing stuff away, you want to refill it. Did I run out of tissues? Did I run out of snacks? Do I need gum? Whatever it is, okay? Did I run out of staples? Refill those, okay? And once per month, I'm a big believer in really emptying out those folders as well, taking the stuff that you don't need from your folders, putting it into that crate that I mentioned and into those manila envelopes so that you're not carrying around your handouts from September in the middle of December. You've already been tested or quizzed on that stuff. There's no reason to be carrying that around. And you certainly shouldn't be throwing it away, especially if you're in high school and have a final or a regents at the end of the year on that material. Okay. So, oh, I'm sorry. I don't have animations in this. So all the bullets are there all at once. So in order to get and stay organized at school, I really think you should try to get there 5 minutes early. Try to take 5 minutes away from your lunch period and stay 5 minutes after your last period. And now what are you doing with those 5 minutes 3 times a day? I ideally would love it if you went to a locker. Now, I know lockers are like so 20th century. Nobody uses them anymore. But if you can, try to just use them 3 times a day. In the morning, get your stuff for the morning classes before lunch. Sometime during lunch, put those things back and then take your stuff for the afternoon. And then after school, put that stuff back and take only the stuff that you need for homework that night, okay? I know that most students like to carry everything around with them to every class, but believe it or not, I also happen to be a yoga teacher, and I believe that your spines are still developing, and it's not a great idea if you've got a 40-pound backpack and you're 80 pounds, okay? That's way too much weight for you to be carrying around every day, okay? And if, you believe, as many of my students do, there's no way I can get from one side of the school to the other, then ask your teacher or guidance counselors for help and how you can accomplish this, okay? So my big message here is that getting organized when you are not already organized, getting organized is really, really tough. And it is never complete. Even somebody like me who's pretty inherently organized, there are periods of disorder that I go through or places where I'm disorderly. I work now mainly from home. So many times my entire apartment will be like totally in order, but my desk will just be a wreck. Or, my desk will be super neat for a week and then it'll be a little messy a couple of days, okay? Getting organized and staying organized is a process. It's not a one-time destination, okay? It's a journey. It's something that you're going to have to get used to doing. So don't expect that you can do this once and magically your life is going to change. That's why I really like the scheduling in on the calendar so that you can sort of say, hey, I'm going to take time for this. The same way I take time to brush my teeth twice a day, I'm also going to take time once a week to clean up my backpack. I'm also going to take time once a month to purge all my folders and put the stuff into long-term storage, okay? You are also going to mess up. I don't say this to be harsh. I say this because I'm a realist. But know that before you start the process. So don't get down on yourself for messing up. Just say, it happened. What can I do? I'm going to try harder this week or this month, okay? Or tomorrow, I'm going to try harder. That's all you can do is move forward. Lastly, I really do think asking for help is a huge benefit, okay? most of us need help, especially when we are starting off doing something that's new and uncomfortable. And if, your parents definitely, most of your parents definitely want to help you. But there's other people who want to help you too. Your teachers, your guidance counselors, maybe even coaches, or, the advisor of a club, if you feel that, even friends. I happen to be the kind of kid who was really organized. So sometimes people would come to me and ask me my advice. That's probably how I started becoming a teacher. So if you have a friend who's more organized than you, ask that person for help. Sometimes they'd be so grateful to give their help to you. So these are the end of my prepared remarks. If you would like to get a little cheat sheet, email me at info@crimsoncoaching.com to get my tips for getting and staying organized. And you can print that out and maybe put it next to your computer or workspace, along with what will getting organized do for you. Oops. If you like Crimson Coaching on Facebook, or sign up for my newsletter at crimsoncoaching.com, you'll be notified of when I have upcoming talks. And I will say that the fall is usually chock-a-block with talks. I'm kind of in the middle of my webinar season. I've given about 4 others since the beginning of September. I have another one on Thursday night, and then I have a bunch more in October as well. And then if you subscribe to Crimson Coaching on YouTube, you'll get notified of when I post new videos, just like this one. This one's being recorded, and so it'll probably at some point maybe be up on YouTube. I know that Syosset Public Library is going to have it up on their website for a little bit. And also when any tips, when I post any shorter tips. So that's all I have in terms of prepared remarks for this evening. I'm going to open it up to questions, but I know from doing this a lot that many people sometimes drop off right after the prepared remarks. So before anybody leaves, I do once again want to just thank you all for coming, and also to thank Syosset Public Library and Ms. Long for organizing and hosting the event. But that'll be the end of my prepared remarks. So let's see, I think we can stop the recording now.